opening scene in Devdas. I don't know if you remember. It's a 12-minute scene. I come running, Devdas aaya hai, Devdas hai, Devdas ki chitti aayi, Devdas aa raha hai, and all that. So each character who's there in the film, in my family, it gets introduced, and I'm running. The camera is behind me. At one point, I have to look back and face the camera, and this, that, all that. Oh my God. Oh my God, those 14 years of my life, I don't know, I went crazy when these movies and all these things were happening. It was so busy that time of it, such a big period. I've not given up acting. And I will not, because my masters have not given me permission yet to give up acting. When your guru says you have to do it, which means he knows why he's telling me to do it. You can't be such a good actor if there is no depth inside you.
You've done so much within that spirituality field.
Those who say don't know, and those who know don't talk. When a person is enlightened, but basic personality remains, he's not transformed. I need people who are transformed. I don't care if they're enlightened or not. There are 7 main chakras. There are other minor chakras which are there. You cannot stop your mind. You know where to the mind goes. Now this is what you can stop with meditation. Like I have seen people who have dropped eating non-vegetarian like this, who have dropped smoking like this, drinking like this, then they don't go back and they don't feel anything about it. Hypnosis is clinical. But if you're in a hypnotism, that's illegal. So auto writing is when you connect with the souls who have passed over, who have crossed.
Why are you actually communicating with them?
Now communicating, that's what I do. I don't talk to them. As I told you about this man, I can see the visual, I can hear, I can smell. That's how they communicate. So I asked her, when he passed, was he wearing these color clothes? She said yes. So I got that validation that he's the right soul.
Smita Jayakar is a talented actress and a passionate spiritual practitioner with over 35 years of experience in spirituality. In this podcast episode, I speak with Smita Jayakar about her passion and love for acting and how she combines this with her spirituality practice. I talk about chakras, the healing modalities, and auto writing, which are the 3 areas that she loves to focus in. This episode gave me goosebumps whilst we were recording it, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time and conversation with Smita ji. So let's dive straight into this podcast episode. Smita Jayakar, welcome to Inner Habit. How are you?
Thank you so much, Ruti, and I'm wonderful.
Thank you. So I'm so grateful for you saying yes to this opportunity, for enabling me to interview you and putting you on a international platform like Inner Habit, because as I said, I've got a varied audience across the world, so it's going to be very interesting. I have watched your movies for years now, and I have admired the way you conduct yourself on screen. So I'm so looking forward to how you conduct yourself off screen. So it's going to be really exciting.
Sure. Shoot, start.
Excellent. Now, I believe that spirituality is innate in us. I wanted to understand your understanding or definition of spirituality.
This line probably you may have heard, and it is repeated also many times. We are all spiritual beings who have come to the earth for a human experience. So basically we are all spiritual. It's that we don't know. And we've come here for this earthly experience, the human experience, and that's what we are taking. If we all knew that we were spiritual, we would not be suffering and not be in pain at all. Because this is just an experience we are going through on earth. So if I could get an opportunity to tell the world, well, listen, there is no need to really be so bothered. We have asked for it. We have come here for that. And the divine with us is all the time with us, because he is inside us. Again, that factor also we forget. That the divinity, as we see, the higher sacred self or the divine or so-called God is all inside us. Which again, this line may sound like a cliche, but it's a fact. But but we need to have an experience of it. We got to know it for sure, and that is where the problem is. And that is what we call spirituality.
Understood. So, why do people choose ignorance over actually understanding that this is their innate nature and they should explore it a lot more?
Yeah, I don't know why they choose. I think because they are not probably guided, or probably they have a misconception about spirituality. I think that is the reason why they, oh, spirituality? No, no, not meant for me, kind of a thing. Actually, my master, Maitreya Dada Shriji, I don't know if you've heard of him in my videos, but he always says this one line, that spirituality is simpler than the word simple. And because it is so simple, people think, really, this cannot be spirituality, because they have a wrong concept of what spirituality is. And that is where the problem is. They just feel that, oh, probably we don't have to wear these clothes, we don't have to eat this, we can't drink, we can't do this, falana, can't party, all that. It is not like that at all. If that concept goes into their head, then they will get into it. Spirituality is nothing but just be yourself. It's a state of being. That's exactly what you are. But that being only we can't, we don't know that being itself. So Shruti, I will ask you one question. Tell me, when was the last time you said hello to your body? See, this is what gets you thinking. We don't say hello to our body. We don't look at ourselves in the mirror and say, hi, how are you? Do we ever meet ourselves? With actors, it is a very big problem there, that we are constantly doing different roles, and we are wearing masks over masks over masks. So when do these masks break? They break when you start getting older. When you don't look as pretty as you used to. You'll be wearing glasses like me. You'll be having gray hair in your head. That's the time you say, oh my God, I'm getting old. That's the time when you see, oh, if I'm getting old, people are not going to recognize me, people are not going to take me in films, people are not going to this, all that kind of thing. So insecure you get. That's the time you meet yourself the first time. When you can't accept this person you're seeing in the mirror. That's where your ground starts shaking. So what I want to tell people is, don't wait for that day. Because once the day arrives, then you start looking here and there and go, then you make wrong choices, you have wrong relationships, and you sort of take to the bottle, you do all kinds of things because you don't get your answers. So start earlier, whereby when you reach that stage, you accept yourself gracefully. And trust me, every human being looks very pretty at whichever age that person is, if it is accepted nicely. But if you're fighting for it, oh, I'm old, I can't show my gray now, my gray is showing, my glasses, I can't be on a podcast with glasses on, all kinds of things, then you so then they form lines on your face, they form wrinkles on your face, they all kinds of things, because you're not in sync with the planet. That's what it is.
Yes, I'm absolutely with you. Now, I've done a bit of research on you. So my understanding is you commenced acting alongside with starting your spirituality journey.
Yeah.
And you started pretty early. I think it was about in your 20s, 2025. How did this journey intertwine?
So what happened was, actually, it was a little before even I started my film line. My husband introduced me to my first master, Prabhuji. It just so happened that Prabhuji was a proper businessman earlier, and then he wanted to take Atma Sannyas. What is Atma Sannyas? Is you lock yourself in one room, then you don't know, everything is closed, you don't know if it's 3 o'clock a.m. in the morning or it's afternoon. You are just want to disconnect with the world. Only your family members come in to give you food, water, whatever you need. Otherwise, you're in your dhyan. Okay, that is Atma Sannyas. Now, he wanted to take Atma Sannyas, and he wanted to write a will, make a will. My husband is a lawyer, so he wanted to make a will. So my husband, he was supposed to go that particular day to him. He used to live close by. Go to him for his instructions for the will. And I was there somehow with him. We were going shopping or something like that. And he suddenly remembered, oh God, I had to go here. I forgot about it. Come with me. I said, I'm not coming. What am I going to do? These people talking about this legal things and all that. He said, no, I don't have time to drop you home and all that. You come now. He just took me along. And I was like a little lamb sitting there. Oh my God, what am I going to do now for so long? And what the hell am I going to do here? But it so happened that Prabhuji had told his son that Mohan Bhai will not come alone, he'll come with his wife. So that's what they told us, that's what Prabhuji said, that Mohan Bhai will not come here alone, he'll come with his wife. And I said, I also didn't know that I was going to come here. How the hell does he know? So that's how it all began. Then I was introduced to him, and I used to go, because he was close by, I used to go to him every day. Because I had a whole lot of questions in my head, that he put that seed in my head about what is spirituality. I didn't know the difference between spirituality and religion at that point in time also. I mean, I just didn't know nothing. And I was put in that slot, period. So then I had so many questions to ask. So he used to answer my questions very logically, which applied to my sensibility, sensitivity, whatever about spirituality. And that's how my journey started. And then, no looking back. Once you are in it, um, it just sucks you. It's something like an addiction. Lovely, nice addiction, though.
Understood. And how did you balance it? Like, looking at spirituality does take a lot of time. You have to read, you learn so much. How did you balance your acting career with your spiritual pursuits?
No, I didn't do anything of that sort.
Okay.
I just went with the flow. Prabhuji had given me a Havan Kund, that chota chota Havan Kund. You get it in the market. Okay. And he said, you do Havan every day, which I did every day, however late it was. He said, I said, how many times? 108 times. He said, you do what your heart tells you. So there have been times when I've just done 3 ahutis and I've left because it was the early morning shift and I didn't have time. But I never missed it till date, by the way. So I used to do my Havan every day. Somehow things started happening, and I was not expecting anything, because I didn't know what to expect out of spirituality at that point in time. So I
Okay.
just went with the flow. And I felt every time that I was being guided and I was protected, because in the film line you need a lot of protection. I was so much younger also then, so I was just protected. When I look back in retrospect, I feel, oh my God, really? Oh, I would have gotten into such a mess. But I was taken without me realizing that this happened. So I went with the flow. The things, these films which you were talking about, these films, I have never done any legwork or went to people and give my photographs. They just happened and they fell in my lap. Maybe that is destiny, because I was destined. I would say destined, or someone up there really loves me very much, Shruti.
It's very interesting you say protected. So I want to get an understanding of why you felt that in the film, or why you feel that in the film industry you had the need to be protected.
Well respected and all that happened later, no? You have to earn that respect. So in your initial stages, everywhere in the world you need to be protected, very honestly. Not just the film world, but film, because it's in the eye. People notice you, people talk about you. It's there, out there. We are all out there. So any little thing happens, it is just, oh, you know,
Yeah, it becomes a big media issue.
huge, yeah, huge, exactly. So you may not have even said something, but it is that misconstrued, this, that, and the other. You never know. You never know. But somehow, nothing of that sort happened to me at all. Even when I was younger, nothing of all that happened to me. My name was never linked with this one, that one, that one, that one. Though I've got so many friends in the industry now, there's such close friends like Shashi, for example. The names never got. I don't know how it just happened. That one fine day, people started calling me senior actress Smita Jaik. I said, hey, where did I become a senior actress? But that's how they started respecting me, just respecting me. Probably because of this meditation that I was doing, my havan that I was doing, the protections of the masters that I had, my aura had probably changed, which I now, in retrospect, I think my aura must have changed. It must have become so much more powerful and more stronger that nobody could enter into it, in that space of mine. Is what the only explanation I can give to why all this happened. How?
Smitaji, I have one critical question for you. The critical question is, what is the difference between ego and self-respect? I find that people actually misinterpret ego and self-respect.
Yes, there's a very thin line actually, and it is up to you, your own. It's your own self, okay, which will determine whether you are acting out of ego or of self-respect. I'll give you one small example of mine. When people come to us for movies or ad films or something like that, uh, sometimes they come with such ridiculous budgets. Now I have set a line for myself. I will not work below this, whatever it is. It could be 100 rupees. I will not go below 100 rupees. That is my self-respect line. Okay. Now, if I have to say this, I say I'm sorry, but I will not work below 100 rupees. The other person interprets as, oh, what a big ego. Who the hell she thinks she is? That is his perception about me. But that is my self-respect that I can work below this. That's a self-respect. So it is up to you. You don't worry about what other person is thinking. That is not your problem. You have to think about what you are feeling inside you. And your inside tells you that this is an ego issue you're creating. It doesn't give you a good feeling inside. When you're connected with your divine inside, when you're connected with yourself inside, you get these answers. You get a heavy feeling, light feeling, you know you're making an ego issue. हस्बैंड वाइफ के टिफ में मैं नहीं चाहूंगी बोलने को हेलो सॉरी, मैं क्यों जाऊं, मेरी थोड़ी गलती है. It's a very common thing. From your point of view, it is not your गलती. From his point of view, it is not his गलती. तो फिर क्या? तो ऐसा ही रहने दो. You can't keep the thing like, especially with husband, wife, with children, you can't keep the relationship like that. So then it is okay to take a little with your own close family. It's okay to take a one step. If it's an ego issue, chalo, I'll sacrifice my ego and I'll say, I'm sorry, I should not have said that. What does it matter to your own people? And I would say, even like if it is an ego issue, suppose you and I have an ego issue, I would come up to you and say, Shruti, just let's settle. Let's understand what it is. If I'm into spirituality, I would do this. That I'll say, chalo yaar, it's okay. Chodo. This is what I thought, this is what you thought. Sometimes it's always the situation which makes you take certain decisions. Both of you are right. It's like number 6. If I draw number 6, I can say 6 from my side, you can see a 9 from your side. Okay, now who's right and who's wrong? Both are right. So this is what transformation with Dadashi talks about, that you have to take a bird's eye view of things. Nobody is ever wrong or nobody is ever right. It's the situation which makes you do these kind of things, and you make it unnecessary ego issue. But ऊपर से देखो तो both are right. So if you're understanding enough, don't make ego issues, because you're creating rifts between relationships. If somebody doesn't like me, which I know I can make out if somebody doesn't like me, and if I happen to bump into that person, I will still smile. I'll say, hi, how are you? On my own. Because I know she or he doesn't like me. It's okay. Let him think whatever. Why should I turn my face when I see that person? I don't like to do things like that. I would not do things like that.
Okay, now tell me about, so you've done 2 fantastic movies, right? Which brought you, catapulted you in public eye. One was Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, where you're Aishwarya Rai's mother, and then there was Devdas, where you were also playing a mother role. So tell me about your experience working with Sanjay Leela Bhansali in Devdas. And the reason I ask is because he is a perfectionist. Every detail. I watch so much of his, and he's the only director I'll watch a movie for. I'm unfortunately, I probably knocked myself off, but he's the only one I watch his movies and his serials, his web series and whatever. Tell me about him as an individual. Does he practice spirituality? And the reason I ask is the clarity he has about every scene, about every detail is so immense.
I agree with you completely. He is one of the only best director I've ever worked with so far. Okay, I can say that over and over again. I don't know if he practices spirituality, but deep down he's very, very spiritual. In fact, on the sets of Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, we used to sit talking about it. Then one day he presented me with a book called Conversations with God by Neil Walsh. I don't know if you read that book. So he says, Smita, read that book. That'll be very interesting. So I said, I have this book already. I was already reading that book. So I said, I have this book already, but since you have given me, I'll keep it with me, this copy. So we used to sit chatting, and that time I used to go to my ashrams and all that at that point in time. So I used to tell him what all happened, things like that. So you don't have to really practice anything in spirituality. As I said, it's so simple. You don't have to. You have to just be yourself. And if you're connected with the divine which is there inside you, then you're all there. Then you get, you may not even be aware, but you do get guidance. Now, with me at this stage of my life, I am aware that the guidance is coming. I know how I'm guided. I know that I'm very much in awareness of that because I'm in 24/7 in connect with my inner divine. Even when I was talking over here, I have got my guru's photograph right here over there. So I know I get guided. What I speak, sometimes you'll ask me after sometimes, and you spoke that, which was, I said, oh really? Then I have to go back to the podcast and check what the hell did I speak. So I feel that, Shruti, and I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that. I feel that, especially when I'm talking about spirituality, I feel I am taken over. It's not me who's talking. Sometimes such sentences come out of my mouth which I never ever thought of. So it just happens. I have no idea how. So I always feel there is someone there who takes care of me a lot.
What was the most memorable moment when you were filming on the sets of Devdas?
Oh, there have been many, many memorable moments. But the opening scene, I would like to talk about that. My opening scene in Devdas, I don't know if you remember, it's a 12-minute scene where all the characters and the entire set, all the rooms, this, that, and the other, all of that gets introduced in those 12 minutes. That's a handled camera. So what Sanjay ji told us, that you come on the set, don't do any makeup, don't do anything, wear your chappals and just in your clothes, you just come here because we are going to rehearse this scene. Okay, we took about 11 or 12 rehearsals, running from, they open the camera and then I come running, Devdas aaya hai, Devdas hai, Devdas ki chitti aayi, Devdas aa raha hai, and all that. So each character who's there in the film, in my family, it gets introduced, and I'm running. The camera is behind me. At one point, I have to look back and face the camera, and this, that, all that. Oh my God, running, and finally I come to the piano, and it was, I was like panting. But we did about 12 to 13 such rehearsals because the camera needed rehearsals, artists needed rehearsals, I needed rehearsals, all that. So from 9 o'clock till almost 5:36, we rehearsed that scene every time. It really took a toll on us. It was quite a bit. But then after that, Sanjay ji said, now all of you go and sleep, lie down, just relax. We will do our scene at 8:30 in the night. Most of Devdas is all night shooting. So we'll do our scene, and we picked up a very tiny scene so that it's not too much. The next day, overload doesn't happen. And he takes care of his artists so well, of his actors, that they would be tired now, all that. So the scene that he took that day after all that was a very small scene which he took, very very small. So we packed up early. We were really exhausted, tired, running around and all that stuff. Another thing about him which I remember so much, which was in Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam. That was my peak of my career. I was doing serials, I was doing theatre, oh my God, I was so tired, and that scene was to be shot again. It was a night sequence, and after all of that, I went to that set. Okay, I was very exhausted, really, really exhausted. So when he saw my close up, he said, no, Smita, this is not coming out nice. I will not take this close up of yours now because you're looking very tired. Your eyes are looking tired, your face is looking tired, you're looking tired. So I will take this tomorrow when you're fresh. Now, which director would do that to a character artist? Tell me. It's always the hero and the heroine who are, oh, you're not looking good, your pimple showing here, and this is showing there, and all that stuff. It's all okay for hero and heroines, Who does that to a character artist? I was so touched by that. I said, man, this is really, when you speak of perfection, this is his level of perfection, that every person and every frame has to look perfect. Like my clothes had to match with everybody else on the set. So many people in Devdas, also so many characters, and Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, so many characters. Plus, it has to go along with the dancers and the other junior artists and all that. Oh my God, that's quite a bit to do. But he is a perfectionist, and I love that about him.
Sure. Now tell me, do you think, what did you ever see any frustration in him? Like if a scene doesn't go to plan, does he get angry? Is he very calm as a cucumber type person?
No, and nobody is like that. I mean, that's really too much to expect. He does get mad and angry if his assistants don't do their job well, which is fair. Because he's a perfectionist, to expect perfection from every other person. At least you are not allowed to spoil his movie. Obviously, if it's my product, now I'm on your podcast. If I do some stupid thing, you'll get, oh, what the hell are you doing? What are you talking? I mean, asking you something else, you're answering something else. Any person is possessive about his own project, right? So in that, if you make a mistake, anybody will get angry, however calm and like a cucumber you are. But coming to actors, with actors, he is really cool as a cucumber. He never made any actor feel, ki, oh my god, you've got to take this 10th time I'm taking this take, Smita, please. Never ever. He used to laugh. He used to say, okay, kar, chalo, come on, we can do it. And the treatment we got on those 2 sets, amazing.
You know, I truly think with the good treatment comes good, when you look at the artist, they want to perform well as well then. It all works together. So as an example, if you're mistreated or you're not treated properly, then you're not going to put your 100% in.
Exactly. Somewhere, I mean, however professional you are, somewhere it bothers you inside. What is this? I mean, look at where they've kept us and look at what, the clothes, you do feel that, and it shows on the face that, it shows. However great an actor you may be, that little irritation does show. Today on that big, huge screen, it does show. So the way you are treated, the actors, and I feel, why? We are human beings. We are going to be seen there. Nobody else is going to be seen except us. Then why are we should not be treated in that fashion, right? Well, that's how it is.
So now I've done a lot more research on spirituality. My main aim to bring you into this podcast was your spirituality. So I'm going to focus more on that now. So the research that I have done has been that you have actually, you're actually certified in 36 different healing modalities. So you've done hypnotherapy, for example. You've done past life regression. You've done so much within that spirituality field. Your major areas of focus are chakras, there's auto writing, and there's also different, hypnotherapy and healing. So we're going to start off with the chakras. Now, in chakras, a lot of us generally know that there are 7 chakras, which then leads you to enlightenment. However, if we talk about chakras, there's more than 7. There is probably about 13 to 16 core chakras from knowledge. Tell me why only 7 are recognized.
7 are the 7 major chakras. The other chakras have just come later on. Okay? According to Vedic Shastra, what I have been taught is there are 7 main chakras. There are other minor chakras which are there. These are the main major ones, which are there, about I think 108 or something like that, so many. But these 7 chakras, if you do the chakra meditation regularly of these 7 chakras, that takes care of everything. You don't have to go so much into detail, because chakra can, if you're not interested in something, chakra can get a little intimidating, maybe, that topic, or you may get, oh my god, there's too much, then mind just shuts off. It's too much. As it is, there is such a lot to know about chakras, such a lot of knowledge is there. So adding more and making things complicated is not something what I like. People have to like doing the meditation. So that is very important. So you have to fall in love with certain things in doing, like if you're a health freak, you love going to the gym, you fall in love with whatever you're doing, you see. So even meditation, you got to fall in love with what you're doing. So you have to fall in love. If you make it very boring and very, oh my god, this is too much knowledge. When I take my classes, I've broken those chakra lessons into so many lessons. In one day, if I start teaching them such a lot, they will say, no, too much for me, I can't handle it. The mind is such, it will say, I can't handle it, too much, I will not do it.
Okay, so now tell me, in a lot of people have issues with being still or getting their mind still, is as they say. Now, my view is that meditation isn't about making your mind still and you should have no thoughts. I think there's a wrong perception in the world that meditation is just having your mind stop and there should be no thoughts and so on and so forth. So can you explain to us exactly what meditation is? And also, how does one get to access these chakras when meditating?
Whilst meditating, chakra meditation is a separate issue altogether. That's a separate kind of meditation. Okay. And now, as you said, rightly said, let's go step by step. As you rightly said, meditation does not mean that you have to stop your mind. You cannot stop your mind. You cannot do that. If your mind stops only when you're in coma, right? So that doesn't happen. Now, what happens is, people who are great high meditation, we've been doing meditation for the longest time. What happens is that thought process slows down. So when there is one thought that comes into our head, that thought goes into so many extensions. You started with eating an ice cream, and when you realize you're thinking, you're in college. You know where to the mind goes. Now this is what you can stop with meditation. So when a thought comes into your head, that awareness has to be there. Oh no, get back to whatever I was doing. So say breath watch. So this awareness, the earlier it comes, it keeps a gap between two thoughts. The longer the gap, the better it is. Then slowly the thoughts will keep on coming, but you will not get disturbed with the thoughts and you will not flow with them and go somewhere else. That is what is a silent meditation, like what breath watch and all these kind of things. I would suggest people who are not regular meditators should go for active meditation, like chakra chanting. That is active. So when you're chanting the chakras, your mind is on that chanting. Do the Havan, that is active meditation. Because you have to concentrate on what you're doing when you're doing Havan. Okay, so do these kinds than just sit there and just breath watch. People say I do a meditation for 2 hours and I keep wondering, really? Seriously? Even I can do it for 2 hours. So what do you do? Because your mind is gone and you are sitting there and you're gone somewhere, your mind is thinking this, that, and you're just sitting, then you feel you're meditating. You cannot keep your mind away for 2 hours. I mean, it's impossible. It's not possible. So when they say we meditate for 2 hours, and keep wondering, I said, God, what the hell did they do? I don't know. I would like to learn. No, people have sometimes wrong concepts or misconstrued you. And by the way, they go on the net and check on the net. And everything on the net is not what is right. So if you want to become enlightened, go on the net, read it and become enlightened. Can you? No, exactly. You need a guide, a guru, you master to channel you for anything you do. Even your simple kitchen techniques. You want to do dal chawal, also for that you will probably go on the Google or you check some Khane Ka magazine and then you will follow the recipe and then go. So you need some guide all the time. So what keeps you away from getting into spirituality? Don't you think you need a guide there when you have to learn lessons about yourself and your life? Life lessons, you want to go on the net and check. How ridiculous. But, well, that's how it is.
Okay, and how, when you're meditating, how does one feel the chakras, like, or they access the chakras? What do they feel?
No, for accessing the chakras, chakra meditation is the only way to access. So when they do the chakra meditation, like I have my students who do it for 21 times each chakra. So you feel the vibrations on the physical body. Though the chakras are not there in the physical body, but you do feel the vibration on the physical body. They're in a subtle body, okay? But the subtle body is connected to your physical body. If you don't have the physical body, there's no subtle body. So it is connected, right? So though it is in the subtle body, the vibrations are felt very, very strongly in the physical body. Another question is, people want things like this. That does not happen. That does not happen. Definitely not in spirituality. A lot of people ask me, how do we know how much is a chakra? Where is the chakra? How much is it active? There is no barometer for that either. You can't say that. You can only experience in your life when a chakra starts getting set right or aligned. You realize that I used to react to this kind of a situation earlier. Now it has not bothered me at all. Ah, okay, something has shifted. That's how you know. That's how you know that you're a changed person.
That is so interesting because, you know, as I've been practicing meditation, I've noticed that there's very few things that impact me generally. And the frustrations that was so high, they sort of have slowly, you know, they don't frustrate me.
Correct. That's exactly. So there are so many things that happen. You can't say one thing. This frustration has gotten me. So many things. Fear factor is such a major thing. Now, fear factor, we can't be completely out of fear factor because otherwise it's not possible to live. We'll be gods who don't have fear at all of anything. If you don't fear anything, you definitely fear death. And people who say, "Oh, I don't fear death. Tomorrow, if death comes to me, I will accept." When death is standing straight here in front of you, everybody goes through that one fear because it's the fear of the unknown. So we can't not fear anything. It is not possible. We don't know what nature is going to do to us. With COVID happened, this happened. How can you say you can't have fear? But it lessens for sure. And fear factor is connected to the Muladhara chakra, the root chakra. So when your root chakra is balanced properly, even if such a calamity or such a kind of a challenge does come, you will get an answer as to what to do immediately. You don't go into that zone and into that viral, oh my God, fear, and then anxiety, then panic attacks, and then depression and suicide. You don't go into that at all. At all. You know how to handle, how to balance. Okay, yeah, ठीक है, करेंगे, हो जाएगा. Kind of.
Now, you know, there's something I was reading very recently about how fear is actually the first sort of emotion or feeling that you experience as soon as you're born. And the reason for that is because when you're in your mother's tummy or womb, you are essentially protected and you are one with that source. And as soon as you separate from that source, the first emotion, the first thing you get is fear.
Exactly. So you can't live without it. It is there. It's got to be there because then you're cautious about lots of things and all. So how can you not? So people think, and people think of some silly extremes, which is what I want to correct over here. That you're completely fearless. You're completely out of insecurity. ये नहीं होता है. You become aware of it. That awareness is very essential. You become aware and then you can handle it. It doesn't disappear from your emotions, the bag of emotions. It does not disappear. The people say anger. Okay? They tell me also so many times, oh, so many years of spiritual practice, you still get angry? I said, yes, I get angry. What do I do with my whole bag of emotions? Do I pick up anger and throw it away? It can't happen. And you have to use your anger when you know when to use it. That's the whole thing. And how much to use it. So it doesn't have to be a charge inside you. Now, if I don't get angry with my staff, they'll sit on my head, yeah? How can I get work done from them? How can a boss, a CEO or a MD get his work done from his people in the office? The whole society only will collapse. It doesn't work that way. But is there a charge? That is what has to be seen. Now, if you're angry with someone, if you're angry with you, for some reason I've met you in the past and you have ignored me and I said, to hell with her, I'm not going to talk to her ever again. You asked me for a podcast, I said, Shruti's spot, no chance, I'm not going to go. Which happened about 10 years ago. I'm still having Shruti alive in my heart now. Still. And carry that pokey feeling is still there, that Shruti, that is not there. That should not be there. That goes away. It's okay, theek hai, wo to 10 saal pehle ki baat hai. What? I mean, carry forward so much. So we have so many people living inside us. We're carrying forward that whole thing. Carrying a big bag of karma on your back where we start revenge, this fellow, and then, once you're 35, 40, all these things, when you're younger, your skin is nice and everything looks nice and hunky-dory. But when you're older, all these lines of how you are inside start showing on your face. And then with all sorts of things you want to remove those lines. How will they remove? Your inner self is not cured. So, yeah, that's the thing. You change from within. Outside world will change automatically.
That is why you look so young and still so beautiful today.
Yes. I said all this because I wanted a compliment from you.
No, but it's genuinely true. You look very beautiful. And it's true, actually. When you start actually practicing or when you start experiencing that innate nature within yourself, you are so right. The aging process sort of slows down. It feels like it is.
It does. It definitely does. Whatever, because what you are inside is what you're outside. So it is inevitable. And you can't, any amount of facials and anything, whatever you do to your face can stop that, So I always say the inner world and your outer world is the same. It's like two wings of a bird. It has to be balanced. You just can't keep on doing the inner world and then you're like frustrated when you see outside world. There are these people who go so much into spirituality that they leave this, leave that. Andar se to chahat hai. Andar se you want all of that, and you want to show to the world, oh no, I only wear white saris now, I only wear rudrakshas now, I don't go to movies, I don't go here, I don't. If you tide over it, yes. If you completely tide over it, then there is no frustration. Like I have seen people who have dropped eating non-vegetarian like this, who have dropped smoking like this, drinking like this, then they don't go back and they don't feel anything about it. That is fine. But inside you're desiring for all of these things. And just to show the world that I've become spiritual now, so you wear all this kind of thing and do all this natak, then there is a lot of frustration inside. It is not possible to appease the world all the time. You cannot act so much all the time.
So tell me, Smita ji, I feel that there are so many actors and actresses who do practice spirituality, who are spiritual beings in a sense. However, they don't come out in the open and openly say, I practice spirituality, I follow Dada Shriji, or anything like that. Why?
Big question. There is no answer to any why. And that is my pain. All of them, so many of them. Otherwise, you can't act. You can't be such a good actor if there is no depth inside you. So somewhere deep down there is that thing. They all know it. Everyone knows it. All these big actors and big stars, they all know it. Somehow, why do they not say it and come out openly and say, I'm the only person in so many years who openly comes out and says that no, I am practicing spirituality, I am following a master. They all have some gurus, idhar udhar jate hain, but they go, I don't know whether I'm saying it right, maybe because their parents, they want them to be there, uske liye jate hain kya, or they do. I don't know whether they really feel from inside for that particular guru whom they go to, or all. I have no idea, very honestly. But whatever it is, whether you believe, whether you don't believe, or kuch bhi, but accept this fact that yes, I am a spiritual person. Without that, you can't move in life. When you realize this way too late in life, way too late, फिर कुछ फायदा नहीं है उसका, इतना late.
Okay, let's look at the healing side of things then. So why did you specialize also in healing and hypnotherapy?
Hypnotherapy is one of the modalities that I did. Some people are not into, if I tell them do a meditation or do something or join my class of meditation. Some of them are नहीं वो नहीं हो सकता हमसे. You heal. So they come. I have this very extensive chakra healing that I do at home. There are 3 sessions though. You have to come to me 3 times. Each session lasts for about almost 1.5 hours. Okay, so some of them want it like this because they don't want to sit and practice. They don't, I don't know, the mindset is not there maybe, or they don't have time, jo bhi hai. So then I have to know a couple of healing modalities. There are various healing modalities. Like when I'm talking to them, then I know this modality will work for this person. But the best modality up till now, what I have liked is when I'm doing clean in the chakras. It's a like a absolutely deep cleansing karte na ghar ka. It's something like that. But it has to be maintained. Na? Everything has to be maintained. Your house, your car, your body, everything has to be maintained. So your chakras also have to be maintained. You can come to me any amount of times. How many times can you come here for just deep cleaning? You have to do something on your own, no? जैसे हमारे घर को डीप क्लीनिंग करके जाते हैं, but the next day you have to do झाड़ू पोछा, no? You'll have to do that, right? You can't say हाँ डीप क्लीनिंग करके गए, अभी 6 महीने मेरे को देखना नहीं है कुछ भी, ऐसा तो नहीं होता. तो then you have to maintain it, ना? So maintenance के लिए again you have to sit doing the chakra meditation or some kind of meditation to maintain your that whatever state you are in. This is how it is. I mean, and that they don't want to do. मेहनत ही नहीं करनी चाहिए किसी को. They don't want to do the mehnat. They don't want to put an effort. Everything is instant coffee and instant noodles type.
लेकिन आपने healing में क्यों focus किया था? What was it about healing that attracted you to it?
Yeah, that's exactly why these people didn't want to do any of these things. So then I said, chalo, do healing. And I know this alternate therapy works. In fact, I don't know if I can say this, but it works better than the regular therapies that are going on. Better than allopathy or Ayurveda or homeopathy. I'm not saying don't do that. Do go to your doctors, take your medication, but also do healing along with it. I will tell you, people who I have cured 2 patients who had bipolar and schizophrenia. That is because that is a third eye problem. So they have come to me and I have corrected it, I have cleansed the chakras and this, that, and the other. But if they come in an early stage, not when they are in 5 years down the line, when they've eaten so many of these tablets and then the mind is just sort of completely gone, those I can't do. But if you're in the early stage, detected in the early stage, I can correct your, I can set you right for as far as bipolar and schizophrenia is concerned. It is that effective, healing. No touching, no invasion, no nothing, no nothing.
And how do you do this? Through energy?
Yeah, it's energy work. It's called energy work anyway. All healing is all energy work.
So tell me about then past life regression. Now that is that involved with hypnotherapy in any way? You've got a big smile on your face, and I love these questions about that. And we'll now then look at auto writing as well. But tell me about past life regression.
Yeah, hypnosis is one part of it. Now for past life regression, see, there is something called hypnotism and hypnosis. Now hypnotism is illegal; it's not allowed. Okay, hypnosis is clinical. Now, when you put a person in a state of hypnosis, okay, he is very much aware of what's happening around him. But his mind has gone into the subconscious mind. We are tapping the subconscious, though the active mind is still there. For example, if you go to some hypnotherapist and if that person acts funny with you, you can open your eyes, slap him and get out. But if you're in a hypnotism, then he has full control over yourself. Then you will do exactly what he says. That's illegal. Okay? So hypnosis, this is the difference between hypnosis and hypnotism. Hypnosis is clinical. Okay? Now when you have to do past life, you have to put the person in a state of hypnosis. He has to get out of his active mind and go into the subconscious mind, where you can pick up what has happened to that person. Now this one modality is, I've learned it but I don't practice it. The reason being, like when a lot of people have come to me earlier, oh chalo dekhte what happened to me in the past. Now this is not a joke, okay? I'm not doing all of this just because you want to see your drama, what you did in the past, without any agenda. If you have an agenda, like especially if you have phobias and kind of things, they can be corrected with past life. So you have to have an agenda. I'm coming to do past life for this, one. Secondly, when they come to me, they don't know me, I don't know them. तो रैपो बिल्ड करने के लिए बहुत टाइम जाता है. Because if that person, if I can't get that trust of that person, then mind will not allow him to go into subconscious mind. It will still be active. No matter what you do, this person refuses to go into subconscious mind. And you can't do anything about it. You have to tell him, I'm sorry, I can't work on you. I don't want to do that. I believe that if somebody has come to me for help, I have to help that person significantly, some way or the other. And that's the reason I don't practice past life. Unless I know the person and the person knows me and he has full faith, okay, I know her, I know she will get me out of this. And then if he says, okay, please, I want to do a past life, then I can do it.
And have you ever done a past life before?
Yeah. I've done it for people. But very few and far between. I don't take outsiders. I know I will take only people I know and they should trust me. You know, because they feel कि oh, इसको तो सब कुछ मालूम पड़ जाएगा. She will know all my dark secrets and this, all kind of fears they have. So I don't like that modality so much is because of these kind of restrictions. These kind of handicaps I have. I don't want any handicaps in healing.
So tell us an experience you've had previously with whoever you've done past life regression on, and what were you helping them with as an example? Now, I know you don't focus on that modality, but it's quite interesting.
So I had this lady who had come to me. She wanted to do her past life because she was, for about almost 25, 26 years, she was going through things, really going through a hell of a bad situation in life, and such a long time, it's rare. I mean, for such a long time going through that kind of a thing. So I know her very, very well. She said, Smita, please do it for me. So I did it for her. And I'm not going to give you what happened and all that and how it happened, but when she saw her past, the things that she had done in her past, which is why this is happening to her in this life, lot of things resolved inside her. She accepted her situation the way it is. The frustration and that irritation of all that just vanished. She said, okay, I have to go through this because I know this coming from the past. She's handling things in a very different way now. So that is what happens.
See, that's what I was going to ask you, is how does then knowing that change the mindset and how people work with it today?
Yes, it is. It does change. Another very nice modality which I like is, I don't know whether you've heard or you must have read it over there in my this family constellation.
No.
I would prefer family constellation, I have done that too, than past life.
Tell us about that.
Family constellations, you need about 4 or 5 people. Okay, and the person concerned, like suppose you are concerned. Suppose you have a weight problem. Okay, and you want to deal with it, and no matter whatever you do, my weight just doesn't go. What is the reason? Okay, so you will be standing like a spectator outside. I am the moderator. Okay, and I need 5-6 people around there, 4 or 5 at least. So I will pick according to the energy. Again, it's energy work. According to what I feel, I'll pick up this person. You become Shruti. You become the fat. And depends on what I want more. There will be 2-3 more people playing, maybe your mother, maybe if you have a sister or something like that. So they are there in that arena. I take them by the hand and I say, you are playing Shruti. So close your eyes and feel Shruti's energy. Close your eyes and play the fat that's there in her body. Close your eyes and you are her mother or whoever else is there. When they come in that arena, they will speak the way you speak. How that happens, I have no idea yet. They will speak the way your mother speaks. If there's an issue between mother and daughter, suppose your mother is very slim, very beautiful, and there is this discord between the mother and the daughter because you are little big. That would come out. And the fat would say something else, God knows what. So when they come in that arena and I'm the moderator, they just start. I said, what do you feel when you see Shruti and the mother? What do you feel between the two of you? They come out with such things which are unbelievable. That's much better than past life, I feel.
Okay.
Comes out.
Okay. So, yes, to answer your question, my mother is very beautiful, like all mothers.
I guessed it.
So, tell me, you can sense people's energy quite a bit. In our conversation, what type of energy do you sense? I'm always interested and intrigued from people.
But don't ask me this kind of a question because I've not scanned you at all. I'm here only for the podcast.
Fair
Not
enough.
scanned at all, but your energies are good energies. They are not like, oh my God, what do I answer with her? ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है.
That's really good. That's
But that
really good to
happens
hear.
sometimes. But then I don't get good thought. I don't get thoughts. My thought process stops when the energy is not flowing.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually true. Now, talk about auto writing. This has been very interesting because I believe it's called something else here. But tell us more. What is auto writing and what is it about and how did you get into that?
How did I get into that? Is my Prabhuji, I told you my first master, he just touched me here on my third eye and he said, go do it. I said, what do you mean, go do it? It's not some belpuri you have to eat, no cow, you know. I said, I can't do it. He said, no, you try, go. So every day I has to sit with a pen and paper and sit. He said, you sit with the pen and paper, one day it'll happen. I got very bored. I tried it for 6-8 months. I said, Baba, mere se nahi hota. I told him, I said, I can't do it, please. Mujhe baksh do, I can't, mere se nahi hota. He said, you have to do it. When your guru says you have to do it, which means he knows why he's telling me to do it. So again I sat, I prayed, I said, listen, I got to do it. Somebody got to help me. And that's how it happened. Okay, my father had passed away a long time back and suddenly I heard my father's voice, okay, I'll help you. So initially, as to connect through my father to all the souls, used to come to my father, they used to say, please help us with this. That's how it started initially. Now, what is auto writing? It's called automatic writing actually. So, auto writing is when you connect with the souls who have passed over, who have crossed. Okay. So, why do you connect to the souls who have passed over? It is basically a healing process. It's a closure. Sometimes you lose a person who's so dear to you. It could be your child, it could be your whoever. And that's very painful and you can't let go. You know the person is not in body form, the soul also has to move on. No? It has never happened that the law of the earth that once it's gone, it's gone. He may take rebirth, but you will not know whether this is the same soul. Whenever he takes rebirth or she takes rebirth, right? You don't know. If you knew that we're chaos in this world. Okay? So once the soul is passed over, you have to allow it to go. And you can't, because you can't do away with the memories of the person, his voice is that. Very painful. It's very, very, very painful. Okay, so when you do this is a healing modality. When you do this, it brings about a closure. Your mind, your heart is at rest. That's the whole modality. Now I'll tell you certain things, which examples when I've done auto writing. There was this lady who came, her husband passed. So as soon as I called the soul, I always have to have my masters around with me for my protection. So I called the soul and I could see this person wearing a pink shirt and a light beige, very light beige color trouser. So I asked her when he passed, was he wearing these color clothes? She said yes. So I got that validation that he's the right soul. And suddenly I started feeling a lot of pain in my bones. My body was hurting. I said, my body is hurting very badly. My bones are hurting very badly. How did he pass? So she said he was an architect and he had gone on a site. He was on the some high floor, whatever, 22nd floor, whatever. And accidentally he fell down. So obviously his bones broke. So I was feeling the pain. I don't remember the conversation, what happened, because it just gets deleted from my head. But there are certain incidences like these which stay. So this is what I get these validations that was he wearing this. So with ladies who have died as suhagans, if there's a Maharashtrian lady, I can see her bichu, the toe rings on her fingers, on her feet. I can see the color of the sari she was wearing. I can see the kumkum all over the place. I can see that very clearly. Sometimes I smell fish. The person likes to eat fish. I can smell fried fish, or I can smell a perfume. Then I know, did he like perfumes? Said yes. So I know, that's the validation I get. So it's a very it uh, it's very beautiful after doing auto riding. It feels very nice. Like the person feels nice. I feel nice, and I thank Prabhuji and the entire divinity, my masters, for uh, this auto writing that thing that Prabhuji has given me. Whatever.
So tell me, when you connect with the soul, do they communicate with you, as in, do they have any messages, or why are you actually communicating with them?
Now, communicating, that's what I do. I don't talk to them. I communicate and they communicate with me. Now, communication can be through thoughts, through, as I said, like you have to be omnipresent, omniscient, and all those things. So, I can see, as I told you about this man, I can see the visual, I can hear those thoughts coming in my head, I can smell. That's how they communicate.
But do they have messages?
They do have sometimes. They do have. Many a time they do have messages, but it comes as thoughts then. Because there is no mouth to communicate. And what I say, it doesn't make sense to me, but it makes sense to the person sitting samne. So there was this girl who came who wanted to talk to her mother. And whatever little I remember is the mother kept on saying Sona, Sona, Sona. So I asked her, what is it about Sona? Does she have some gold or what? What is it about Sona? She burst out crying. She said, Sona is my sister's name. I said, oh. Now how the hell am I going to guess that? That's a sister's name. Sona means Sona, gold, right? So it makes sense to them, not to me.
And we say that, okay, I come to you and I want to connect with a soul. But has it ever come to you where a soul has actually come to you without the individual present?
Yeah. Yes, this happened to me once. Normally I don't entertain them. I keep myself protected, and I say only when I'm doing it auto writing for a person who's sitting next to me or on Zoom or whatever. Only then my aura is open when I'm allowing them. I don't allow this. I don't, because you don't know which soul would come and what would happen. So, but anyway, this was the case where my mother's friend's daughter, Aarti, I think her name was. My mother's friend's daughter. Elderly. My mother's older now, than 90 years old. So my mother's friend's daughter. This was about 5-6 years ago. She had gone for a party somewhere, and suddenly she got very serious. She started throwing up and cut to ICU in the hospital. So my mother came and told me this. I said, "Eh?" Suddenly, body gives indications, whatever. And she was in the hospital. I said, come, let's go. I can give her healing. The hospital was close to my house. So I went to my mother, went and gave her healing. All that happened. I said, she's not going now. Still time. Then we were going out of Bombay somewhere, and I came back. I said, what happened to her? I said, no, she's still there. So I said, come, we'll go again. So when I went the next time, there was no energy. I could feel that the soul had left. The body was just kept alive, beat pumping because of the oxygen. So the soul has left. I said, by afternoon she will go. And just by afternoon, after lunch, she passed over. My mother called. Okay, ho gaya. Next day I was brushing my teeth, and this girl, she talks very fast. She said, listen, you have to tell my mother it's not my husband's fault, it's nothing, it's just a vein, some kind of vein or nerve, something burst in my stomach, it started creating poison, and it just an accident. I said, one minute, hold. What are you talking and who are you? She said, Aarti had just died yesterday, remember you came to give me here. So I went to my mother, and my mother was talking to her mother. Okay, and they were saying that Aarti's mother was saying, no, I think her husband has played some mischief, something. So I said, wait, listen to me first. This is what this Aarti is saying. It's not the husband's mistake. It is this. So my mother was looking at me aghast. She said, how do you know I'm talking to her? How do you know she's asking me the same questions? So this is how it had happened, because otherwise, They would have blamed the husband for no rhyme or reason. Poor guy has not done anything, but the whole blame, all their lives and his life, he would be in guilt. Oh my God. So this happened just once. Otherwise, as I said, I don't entertain souls just coming to me just like that. Because lots of people, even when Sushant passed over, lots of messages had come. Why don't you connect to him? I said no, I don't need to. Till somebody comes to me, um, I will connect. But I'm told not to connect with him just now.
Okay, that's fair enough. I was actually going to ask you a question with regards to that, and it was a very different one. I know that, as you mentioned, you would not connect with a soul. One of the questions that I do have, though, is in the initial phase of his passing, there was a lot of suffering, not only him, his family, but the population in itself. A lot of people had got a shock. Now,
Yeah.
things have calmed down since then a little bit. We're still waiting for the CBI to do their job, and we'll let them do their job. But the question here is, do you still feel, in a sense, that his soul is still suffering in any way, or has he found his way to the other
I
side?
don't know because I've not connected to his soul at all. I don't know, and I don't want to, Shruti, because there are a lot of complications around there, and I don't want to get into it. So, if his sister is watching this, or if you know her very well, I would gladly take her to my master who would answer the questions better.
I do know his sister really well. She is in US, as I've mentioned, and I will see if that's
Yeah, because
something she's.
let my master, let Dadashi ji answer this kind of a question. I don't want to get into it.
Now, the question here also is, Dadashri only visits or meets people that he technically meets, and he has a time when he doesn't meet people. Is that true?
How do you know a lot about it? People, फिर क्या हो जाता है ना? People say, oh, we will give you so much donation, then they expect you to meet him. They expect that the guru should meet if I'm giving 10 lakh donation, this, that. We don't take money at all for all of these things. You donate money to the Gaushala, to the schools, for Annadan, yes. But to meet Dada Shriji, there is no money. And there are lakhs of people who want to meet him. How can one body meet so many people at one time? It's not possible. So then he doesn't meet. But I can try for her if she's interested. I can try. I can't promise, of course, but I can try if she's interested. Let's see. We don't know.
I'll leave that with her.
You know what? I have had experiences of a lot of people. Sometimes they take, they tell me that okay, we want to meet Dadashi, and I arrange everything and all that. Then last minute they cancel. They don't turn up, which I will not allow my master to be taken for granted. It's unacceptable to me. So if somebody is coming, they better. If I've taken that much time and he has taken out that much time, forget me, but he has taken out that much time to meet that person, he better keep the promise, or he or she, whoever.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not acceptable.
Okay, that's fair enough. I agree with that as well. Now, tell me about him. Okay, so you've gone from Prabhu Ji, and then you've gone to Dadashri. Why did you transition, and what was your reason?
There is no reason. You can have many gurus. Sri Datta, Datta, the Trimurti, Datta. Datta had 26 gurus. If he, the Trimurti, can have 26 gurus, why should I not have 2 or 3? And the consciousness is one. Don't we pray to Ganesh ji, to Hanuman ji, to Shiva, to Ma? Where is the fight over there? They don't ask you, oh, you are a Shiva Bhakt, how come you're doing Krishna Janma? Why, when it comes to living gurus? The consciousness is all one, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, I have so many gurus and I'm very proud of them, and each one has given me so much.
How does one select a guru? Like, if I'm going down this path of spirituality and I find that I'm getting stuck at some places, how do I actually find a guru?
Yeah, for me it is. Lots of people who are here listening to this may not agree, but for me, I cannot function without a living guru. I do need that anchor in my life, period. Because I started with a living guru with Prabhuji. So I don't know now how to live my life without a guru in my life. How to find a guru is a very good question, because nowadays there are so many people who come up as gurus, and then you hear all sort of nonsense after some time, and you know how it is. So I tell people who come into my class and all that, I tell them, either you trust me, have faith in me, I'll take you to my guru, because I have walked that path. I'm with Adashiji for 11, 12 years. If you trust me, I will take you there. After that, it's up to you whether you want to follow that path or no, is up to you. There's no force. I mean, you may not agree with certain things which are ashram ki jo vision and mission hai Dadashi ka. You may not agree to this, you'll say, oh, no, this is not my type. Fair enough. But to know who is a guru for you, you have to go there. You do certain processes there. You spend at least about 6 months till you take a decision that this is not meant for me. Is what I feel. You can't just, it's not like a chocolate. You eat a bite and you say, dark chocolate, I don't like it. It's not like that. So you have to give yourself and the master that much of a opportunity maybe to see the shift or whatever you want to see. So basically, I'll tell you, the mission of Dadashiji is to transform people's heart and mind. People need to be transformed, not changed. Transformation is permanent and irreversible. So you have got to think differently. Your heart has to flower. You just have to become love. That's what he always says. You can't love somebody. You have to become love. Then you love everything and anything in nature, wherever you set your eyes on. Even if it's your enemy, there is love. You don't have to go and hug and kiss everybody you meet. But there is love. There's compassion in your eyes. And there's a difference between prem and moh. A lot of people are in moh. To understand prem, you have to become love. And that's his vision and mission. And for me, it's like, wow, oh God, lovely. Sort of kuch hota hai mere ko dil mein.
That warm, fuzzy type of feeling. Yeah.
What I like about him is he's very young. He's very young. And he's a doctor, proper practicing doctor. So from science and spirituality, when it comes together, it makes a dhamaka.
Absolutely. It's the full package, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, I was actually reading Daji's or Kamlesh Patel's book on spiritual anatomy, which I'm really finding very interesting at the moment. Mm-hmm. And this is where I learned about all the chakras and everything, and the opening, and how the soul is made out of the three different. It's the koshas, this
panchakosha.
Yeah, so it's been very interesting journey to know that I'm going the right direction, I hope, and that is sort of forming the foundation of what I'm trying to achieve, and that is just
great. So you start off with this reading. That's what we start off with, okay? Reading people's experiences, but eventually it has to be your own experience. As Dadashi just says, don't quote the Buddha, become the Buddha. When you read somebody else's experiences, they're that person's experiences, they're not yours. Truth is not truth. The truth is still untruth till it becomes your truth.
Correct.
So you have to get the first-hand experience of whatever it is.
Smitaji, do you have any knowledge on Akashic records? I hear a lot of people, and there's so much buzz about it.
Lots of people are doing Akashic record. But it is something exactly like what I do, auto writing. Is what I know, okay, which I've not done Akashic, but I don't know if I should say this again, but I don't like to do what the whole world does. Whatever I have done, they're so unique and different kind of modalities that I've done. Not many people have done those, So Akashic, tarot, pranic, सब बहुत लोग करते हैं. Though I don't want to do something which everybody else does. So I've not got into Akashic, but what I've known of it, that you connect again to one higher source. Like when it's auto writing, I connect to the soul. Here you connect to the higher source, and I'm always in connect to the higher souls. If I have to find out about you or something which I don't like to, unless the person comes, then I can straight away connect to my divine, and the divine can give me answers. I don't need to go through that prayer or open up the records and all that. It's the same way. It's the same thing. The answers are given by the higher self. Process is different. They go through a different process where there's a prayer and this, that, and all that. But it is very effective, though. It is very effective. A lot of people who have done Akashic records are very happy with it. So,
Okay, that's very interesting.
yeah.
Okay, so now you are on this beautiful path. I think it's a beautiful path of spirituality. Where have you stopped acting, or is that always going to be a part
Oh,
of you?
no. 18, 19, 20, 21, back to back. I've got acting class. I'm doing a short film. I've not given up acting. And I will not, because my masters have not given me permission yet to give up acting. That's one. And I don't want to, but I don't want to be in it the way I was. Oh my God, those 14 years of my life, I don't know, I went crazy when these movies and all these things were happening. You know, it was so busy that time of in such a peak period. You can't be in a peak period all the time. And I don't even want to be there such a, because of मेरा ये सारा whatever ये दुकान खोल के रखा है मैंने, what do I do with it? And it gives me so much satisfaction here than there. You see, so I like to do this, and I will do acting little bit here there. I'll do films. I'll do ad films. I'm open to that. I'm open to web series because again they are in seasons, so you don't you have time for yourself till the next season starts. Movies, so of course, for a actor like me, you don't have to have more than 10 days in a whole film, which is in slots. So that's very doable. I don't mind doing that.
Tell me about the landscape. You started your acting career, it was very different. Today, acting has become so different. And now you have web series where you can actually go past the media censors and so on, and you go on screen, and you know, web series have become so popular. What is your take on, you know, what is being portrayed today in web series, which is quite in some way open, you know, it's different.
Yes. See, in a way, it's a good thing that the web series have happened, because then this only hero-heroine kind of stories don't happen. They are very solid stories, very real things which are shown also, realistic, taken from actual real life experiences of people and this, that. Very nice. And you can see actors in web series, not stars. That is very good, which I like, of course, because then actors have got a lot of scope in it. Yeah. I agree they are a little too open. Nowadays it's become a little better, because I think people have probably commented when we don't need to be so open. You know, initially because of the censors they were so blocked, and suddenly they got an opening, so they just went all out. So there is no need to show all that openly. Why? Because servants watch. I don't want to say the word servants. The staff watches. Children watch. They are exposed to things which they should not be at this age. You know, it's not right. Everything has a time. They will be exposed to all these kind of things, but at a later age. हर एक का time होता है हर चीज का. They should not be, even the staff in the house in the night, they have that, everybody has a smartphone nowadays. So at night they sleep late because they're watching all this nonsense going on. So you have to put censorship to yourself. What do I want to show the world? And being in the media, whoever's in whatever kind of media, it's your responsibility to teach the society something which helps the society, not degrade the society. People emulate us, right? People look at us. Tomorrow if I do a scene where I'm smoking, drinking, wearing clothes which not befitting me and all, people are saying, what is wrong with her? Satya gayi hai ye budiya.
You know, in a sense, you are helping people with spirituality. In a sense, what you are doing is helping, and you know, you've somewhat taken your acting expertise, you've grown that, you've got a lot of clarity, you've done fantastic roles, and that sort of has, and then you've gone out there and said, I practice spirituality, which is a fantastic thing to do. I honestly think more and more people need to do this, because a lot of people need to do it. Now, going back to spirituality, there is this buzzword. I won't call it a buzzword because it does exist, but it's enlightenment. Everybody wants to be enlightened. And even those who aren't enlightened say they are enlightened. So tell me more about
Those who
this.
say don't know, and those who know don't talk. If you say, when you say, yes, I am enlightened, which just, you know, that, and enlightenment, according to what Dadashi just explained to us, enlightenment is the beginning, not the end. When a person is enlightened, which means he is understood his self, that the self is not there. But basic personality, if he's an angry person or something like that, basic personality remains. He's not transformed. So what Dadashi ji says, I need people who are transformed. I don't care if they're enlightened or not. So the minute you're transformed, your mind and your heart changes. When there's love in your heart, obviously you behave like an enlightened person. You are enlightened. But your heart chakra is flowered completely. So you see God in everyone. You see the divine in everything that is there. Animate, inanimate.
So, in a sense, I am so glad that you've come here and you shared your experience. You've talked about your expertise, particularly the chakras, the healing modalities, and you've shared so much knowledge. This has literally given me goosebumps, and I want to thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much. Namaste. Namaste. Enjoy.